Okay, so hi, welcome everybody. We are Staiy, the sustainable fashion marketplace disrupting the fashion industry. Today we are going live with Myriam Laroche. She is an absolute expert in sustainable fashion and also fashion in general. Myriam has worked in the fashion industry for over 19 years and has been featured on many TV shows and in magazines like Forbes Online or Condé Nast Traveler. So she is also the founder of the Eco Fashion Week. So today we are talking to Myriam about her interesting career, about current trends in sustainable fashion, and she will also share some practical tips for our viewers. So we're really excited to talk to somebody who shares the same goals as Staiy, of transforming the fashion industry and making it more sustainable. So let's wait no longer and give it a start. So we will make her join our conversation. And there we go. All set.
Hello.
Hi Myriam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Marina?
I'm good, thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Hang on. I'm gonna put my earphones. I think it's gonna be better for sound. Hang
Absolutely, absolutely. I can hear you loud and clear. I don't know if
I
you can hear me properly.
It's not super loud.
Can you hear me now?
Hello? Yeah, much better.
Much better. Okay, great.
Sorry, putting my hands in it. It's my first Instagram live. This is
Really?
pretty
Oh,
cool. Yeah,
that's an honor. That's an honor then. I hope
cool.
it goes as you planned.
It will go well, I'm sure.
So we will be talking about sustainable fashion, so it can't go wrong.
No, it can't.
Okay, so should we start with the questions that I prepared for you?
Sure. Yeah, of course. I'm following you.
Amazing. So my first question is, you work as an apparel and textile sustainability strategist.
Yeah.
So what do you like the most about this job?
Well, I've always been in fashion all my entire career, and it's been now. I started in '94, so it's been a long time. I think what is the difference for the past 12 years, where I'm more focused on sustainability, is the sense of purpose. You know, when I started my career, it was about money. It's not that I do not like
Hmm.
money anymore, but it was just about making my markup and sales and everything. And when you add purpose to it, there's a feel good, that was missing. I would say a more authentic feel good
Of course.
that we don't, that I did not have back in the days. Yeah, I think it's the sense of purpose that adds a lot to my motivation, because it's hard. The sustainable industry, if there's people listening right now that are working in that field, there's still not a lot of people doing it. Everybody's struggling, and you need that purpose to keep going, because without purpose, I don't think I would still doing it.
Of course, I totally agree with you. I honestly think that passion and motivation are what give you a kickstart in whatever journey you start. So I couldn't agree more on that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, and make things better. Be part of the change, because let's be honest, it's not going well. It hasn't been going well for a while since we've started that
Absolutely.
21st century. It's different. And I think we need to, I say that often, we need to um, learn how to live in the 21st century. I think we still live like in the past century, but we don't have the same resources. So we need to understand what it is and use the resources that we have right now, and to create that new world.
Absolutely. And I actually just saw a documentary um, where they were actually saying that exactly humans nowadays are behaving as if the world was for them and working just for their own purpose, whereas we should try and be more conscious of the environment that's surrounding us and work together with it rather than against it. So I
Absolutely.
totally agree with the with your point and with your purpose and the decision that you took to actually follow this career. So my second question is, before your current role, right now, you already had more than 19 years of experience in the fashion industry and had many creative and leading positions. So it is probably hard to summarize, I know, but maybe you can tell us something just more broadly of how you started your career and how it's evolved into what it actually is today, with some highlights of your professional career.
Okay. Well, I think I always known I wanted to be in fashion. It's not something I'm super proud, but I played with my Barbies until I was 14, not playing roles, but making outfits. I was just
Absolutely.
taking piece of fabric and making outfits, and I've always been passionate about touching fabric and textures and colors. So I remember asking my mom, I said, I would love, to produce fashion shows and be in fashion. And we had one school in the area. I was teaching fashion merchandising, and I went there. It was a college. I did my 3 years. While I was studying, I started working in retail.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that I started my career when I started studying fashion, because I think the base, if you do want to understand fashion, working retail is the best place to start, to work
Absolutely.
directly with the consumer, to work directly with clothes, understand inventory, merchandising, and everything. And on the side, I was also producing fashion shows for my high school, the grad fashion show.
Amazing.
Always loved it. It was always about fashion and clothing. And then I graduated and I got a position as an assistant buyer for the retailer I was working
Mm-hmm.
for. Stayed there for 2.5 years. Then I decided to go back to university because I wanted to have higher positions. And while I was studying in university, I met one of my teachers from the fashion school, and she says, we're looking for teachers. And I'm like, well, I'm
Wow.
23 years old, I don't have some teaching. But in Quebec City, there was not a lot of people with working experience. So I took all the interviews and passed the written tests and everything. So I taught fashion merchandising for 5 years here in Quebec. And during that time, I had some freelance work, like journalist for the daily paper,
Wow.
some radio stuff, and some stylism and art direction for photo shoot and
Mm-hmm.
commercials. And music videos. I remember I did that. So I did that for a while. Then I kind of got not bored, but I felt I had nothing new to say,
Of
and
course.
moved to New York for a bit to see what would be the things, how it could work for me there. It was harder because you need a visa to work in the States. So while I was
Understand.
there, I got an offer from a retailer back in Montreal. They had a lot of stores, so I came back there as a senior buyer. So again, I joined the buying industry. And the difference with this buying job and the one I had before is that internet was part of our work. My first job as a buyer, we were making clothes by fax. So you work all day, you send your fax to Asia, you go to sleep, they
Wow.
work, you
Those
come back
really
in the
long
morning.
facts. That's true.
Yeah. It's the long facts and the spec sheets, and you just do your fittings. And yeah, there was no internet, and you know what? It was working. I think it got crazy with internet.
I did.
One of the downside of it, there's a lot of good things, but yeah. So my second job as a buyer was senior buyer. I was in charge of blouses, t-shirts, and dresses, and worked there. And it's at that job that, because of internet, I was negotiating directly
Mm-hmm.
with my factories in Asia. And I remember like asking my boss asked me to drop the price. It was a $8 tank top, and she wanted me to have it at 750.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's my job. I used
I
to
will
do
do
that, but I remember,
anything.
yeah. But that time I remember, and I'm like, really? It's $8. It's $8, something.
I understand.
And I started to maybe do more research on the damage we were causing. I think it did not occur to me to do research before because we did not have internet. And what we don't see, we don't know. We hear
Yeah.
about it. Oh, I heard that some children. Oh, but my agent told me there's no children in these factories. But how can we know?
That's true.
So that's the day I decided to leave and move to Vancouver. It was 2007. I needed a change, you know, Quebec, Montreal, it's Toronto, New York. It's really, really fast paced. And I wanted a real change. And moving to Vancouver, a completely different setup, nature's everywhere. It's
Absolutely.
very young city. And and that's how I decided to go in sustainable fashion. I started to go and look at different fashion events in Vancouver, and they were all trying to be like New York and Toronto and Montreal. And I was like,
It's not
this
going.
is not, no, it's not you guys. There's something way more amazing. And back then, it was a Lululemon was there,
Mm-hmm.
and Vancouver had the reputation to be a legging only city. And now
Okay.
legging is the thing. We wear more leggings than we wear jeans. So they were onto something. Not only they were close to nature and sustainability was something meaningful to them, but they understood comfort and functionality, which is quality now that we look more in clothes. We want to be
Absolutely.
comfortable. Once in a while, we don't mind to suffer, to look pretty, but not as often as we used to.
Of course.
Um, so I was going to different fashion events, and at the same time, Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, announced that they wanted to be the greenest city in the world by 2020.
So
And I'm
they
like,
had it already in mind. It was part
yeah,
of their DNA, basically. They were
yes,
starting to give it the kickoff.
yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is huge. And why not giving a sustainable identity to Vancouver? Why not put
Absolutely.
Vancouver on the map for sustainable fashion? So I started as eco stylist, like doing work and supplying more sustainable clothing for different projects, but it fastly went to Eco Fashion Week. That's when I created Eco Fashion Week in 2009.
Okay.
And
Yeah, we will talk
yeah,
about that in our next questions
yeah,
because we have I have that coming for you as well because it was a great
yeah.
idea.
So I did Eco Fashion Week for we did the last event in 2017, supposed to do one in
Okay.
2018, and it was hard, you know. When we I talk about the struggle, it was everything was going into that, all my life, all my time,
I
all
can
my
imagine.
finances, and I got to a point where I'm like, I I want to spoil myself a little bit, and I don't want that struggle. That was hard, and I felt I did not have support back there. Also, even if
Okay.
Vancouver is a great city, and I think that maybe the city did what they could do, but I did not feel the support, and I
Hmm.
kind of okay, I need a break, and I was missing home. It was 11 years in Vancouver,
And you
so I
started
came
off
back.
so young, so I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
chapeau,
it was
you know?
crazy.
Exactly.
Merci. And so I moved back to, and by the time I was working in Vancouver, I had a client. It's called Value Village or Village des Valeurs in France or
Okay.
Savers in the States. It's the biggest textile recyclers in the world. They have 330 stores of secondhand clothing. And I have to admit that everything secondhand and reuse and upcycle and
Mm-hmm.
transform is really what makes me the most passionate. I love that. I've been wearing secondhand clothing all my life. My on my mother's side, it's 14 siblings, so I was
Wow.
always
You had a
wearing my
full
cousin's
closet.
clothes all the time. When my mom was saying, "Hey, I just came back from your cousins and I have a garbage bag full of clothes," it was like, whoa, it was the best time. So for me, wearing secondhand clothing is joyful. You know, there's no
Absolutely.
negative comment about that. So I work with the yeah. So after Eco Fashion Week, I continue to work with my secondhand clothing
Mm-hmm.
clients, some in Quebec, and now and COVID happened, and now I'm in that place
I
where
understand.
okay, what's next and how can I help the industry to shift and to make it easier? Because right now, I remember I kind of forecast. I'm like, the guys who are not doing anything in sustainability will
Mm-hmm.
fall, and they are falling right now. We see all the retailers that have closed right now. I'm pretty sure they did not do much on sustainability. The
Mm-hmm.
one that are still here understand how important it is to create clothes that are not damaging to the
Absolutely.
planet and to the humans and to the animals. It's
I
the
can
three
agree.
of them, not just one, all three.
I totally agree. I totally agree on that. So, on that note, since we started talking about your idea of the Eco Fashion Week, which you launched in 2009, right?
Well, 2009 officially the website, and we did
Yes,
a
exactly.
pre-launch event in 2010 during the Olympics. That was way
Wow.
too courageous. When I
So,
think about it, I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? But I
a
don't know what.
pioneer, we always need a
Yeah,
pioneer in order to give a
yeah.
good start. So, how did you actually? So, you said that you were working and you were seeing some possibilities to grow within the eco fashion industry, especially in the city of Quebec. But how did you actually come up with the idea for the Eco Fashion Week?
Well, I've worked back when I was in Montreal, in Quebec City. I knew the people from Montreal Fashion Week, collaborated with them a couple of
Mm-hmm.
times. And there's also another big event called Festival Mode Design that is
Mm-hmm.
really big. So I had some experience in that area. And for me, I felt that a fashion week was the ideal format.
Absolutely.
Uh, to start something in an industry that almost do not exist.
Yeah.
I could have started a line of clothing, I could have started a store and everything, but I felt more comfortable to start an event, and which and what happened is that so many people, I think the biggest accomplishment of Eco Fashion Week is how we worked as a team,
Absolutely.
because we did it with an extremely low budget. People would not believe how much we accomplished with
It's
so low
difficult.
money, but it's because of a team, and the team stayed the same for a really long time. And you could feel in comparison of other fashion
Mm-hmm.
week or fashion event, it was really inclusive and everybody was welcome. I remember when I
That's
started
great.
my career as a journalist, I was going to fashion event, and because I was from Quebec City, I was more like region,
Of
and you
course.
could feel the attitude. And even myself later, when I was in Montreal and I was going to event, I had that attitude. You just I'm this, and I'm a fashion journalist, and I'm this, blah blah blah. And
And then you understood how difficult it is to actually organize it.
yeah, I know. And not just that, why having attitude? And I think that's an area I put a lot of energy with when I meet with clients. Your attitude and the love that you have for others is so important. You can be the most eco-friendly with your product,
Mm-hmm.
but if you are an asshole, are you still there?
Can you hear me? Okay, great.
Yeah.
I thought I had lost you for a second, but probably there were some
So
connection issues. Okay.
what's the last thing
You
you
said
heard?
that you can be the most eco-friendly person, but if you're an asshole, that won't work.
Yeah, it is true. And we saw that with a couple of people, with everything, the Me Too and denunciation and the Black Lives Matter movement that's happening.
Absolutely.
Um, we see that more and more. And that's why, and of course, like my producer, which was kind of my partner in crime, and I'm so grateful I have her. She's French Canadian who lived in Seattle. So
Well
we
done.
had the same sense of humor,
Background, of
and
course, everything.
yeah, and welcoming. And I think what people would say about Eco Fashion Week, it was fun to come to the event. We wanted people to not take themselves too seriously, because we need to have fun, and it doesn't have to be heavy all the time and
Of
having to
course.
be yes, we love just dress the way you want and just come
Be
to support and
easygoing.
spread the message. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what we want it to be. So yeah, so we did Eco Fashion Week. It's started twice a year, and then I was like, oh my God, I can't do that anymore. Then it went to once a year, and we did some satellite event in Seattle, one in
Absolutely.
Toronto. We tried a lot of stuff, and I think our strength was creating different challenges
Mm-hmm.
for the industry to show mostly about reuse. There was that challenge we did with the Fairmont Hotel. The Fairmont Hotel was one of our
Amazing.
partner there, Fairmont Waterfront. We did the Chic Sheets Challenge. So we asked designer and student to create gowns and outfit from old sheets
Wow.
because the hotel industry, even if there's a tiny hole or a tiny stain, they cannot put it back in the sheets.
Of
But this
course.
is amazing fabric, like mostly cotton poly. It looks great. It stays beautiful even if you wash it over and over again. And maybe I could send you a picture after, but it looked
Absolutely.
amazing. It looked amazing. And then we did the thrift style challenge, which we chose three stylists, gave them $500 in gift certificate from Value Village, which was the secondhand clothing store.
Wow.
And they were doing 10 outfits, head to toe, all secondhand that looked like a collection,
Amazing.
not just, oh, 10 outfits together. No, it had to look like a collection. It was really about reuse and showing because it's the future. I
Of
think
course.
the first thing right now
Totally
that
agree.
we have to do and integrate it's reuse and close the loop and reach a circular economy. So yeah, it was good. Eco Fashion Week it's just great memories, just
Absolutely.
great memories.
And it looks like
Yeah.
you were able to create a great network behind it. And also, I mean, the creativity that there is behind the fact of being able to organize such types of event and creating
Mm,
these types of innovative ideas was, I think, something that being 2009 was already, I mean, a pioneer, as I said.
yeah, I
Because
agree. I think
we're starting to hear like people talk about sustainability just in the last, I think, 3 to 4 years. It's just a very recent topic. So I mean, it was courageous of you to
thank you.
give it a shot at those times and have such great ideas. I mean, it
Thank
looked,
you.
and it, you can see it when you talk about it, that you're really passionate about what you believe in, you know. So I
Yeah.
think that is the best part, and of course the takeaways that you are left with after organizing such types of events, and all the things that came with it, you know.
Yeah, I always say it's like three PhDs at the University of Life.
Exactly. Exactly.
Minimum.
I think
Bring it now.
experience is the best. So
Yes, I agree.
so moving on to the
Yes.
next question. You were talking about circular economies, which I think more or less everybody who follows our page knows something about. But what would be your definition of what you consider sustainable fashion? So what is your definition of sustainable fashion?
For me, sustainable fashion is a way of creating apparel or anything textile
Mm-hmm.
products in the less damaging way to the planet,
Of course.
the humans, the animals, of course, with the resources that you have, financial, material, human resources, and technology that you have access to, and your values and your beliefs. But yeah, how less damaging I can be,
Absolutely.
how much I can integrate and integrate reuse and be smart because it's water consumption, it's energy consumption, and it doesn't have always to be with the product itself because when we talk about water consumption and energy consumption, the place where we consume it the most, it's at
Mm-hmm.
home once we have bought the clothes.
Absolutely.
So even brands, if they don't have the greenest product, they can teach the consumer how to care for their clothes in the less damaging way, because we wash our clothes too often. And
We do.
I was guilty for a while, like, oh, it's easier to put it in the basket than back in my closet. I just
Absolutely.
throw it, basket, and you wash it again. And so,
You get
yeah.
into those bad habits that are difficult to then, extrapolate and correct once they're into your daily routine and way of living. So
Yes.
I understand. I completely understand. Um, moving on. So what do you think was the biggest influence for your desire to transform the fashion industry and promote the most sustainable practices? So where did it all start from? Was there a particular event, or was there something that really influenced you when you started thinking, okay, no, that's it? Was it the kids working at the factory you were, or the
Well, this,
money that they were actually
well,
spending?
Well, I think that's the first, like, okay, what am I doing? Do I still want to work in the fashion industry that way, the way I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing? It was after 15 years of career that I started to realize, like,
Understand.
okay, is it what I still want to do? And then, of course, Vancouver, 2007, I think it's the key year where, well, my first job in Vancouver was I was a sales rep for a
Mm-hmm.
yoga wear company made in Vancouver, and the fabric was milled in Montreal, super high
Wow,
quality fabric, synthetic fabric, so of course chemicals and stuff, but the durability, I still have some pieces from 2007 that are
that's
still
the quality.
beautiful. So I remember to work for them woke me up, because as a buyer, I was mostly doing my clothes in Asia, overseas.
Of course.
So I kind of forgot the locally made, and that's where I reconnected with it. So Vancouver for sure. In Vancouver, there was more artisan work, and then yeah, and of course, secondhand clothing has been part of my life. So I kind of connected the dots,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, this can all be together, and we can all join forces
We
to
can make it
promote,
work,
Yeah,
basically. We can make it work.
yeah.
um, so yeah, I completely agree with the fact that it's a slow process though. Getting into the habit of creating a full sustainable, circular economy where everything is reintroduced and reused in different ways that are still useful. But I believe we will get to a possibly fully eco-friendly, let's say, kind of economy and way of thinking, especially for the fashion industry, which unfortunately is one of the most polluting ones that exists
Mm,
at the moment.
yeah, for sure.
So my other question instead is looking a little bit more towards the future right now.
Okay.
So what do you think? Well, it's a mix of both actually, past and future. What do you think are the biggest trends in sustainable fashion at the moment, and that were, let's say, in these last couple of years? And what do you think will be the biggest or the upcoming trends in the years to come?
Well, past trends, I don't know if they are trends, but they're like some, I call it different ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
of the eco recipe were more highlighted. So of course, we just talk about water consumption, energy consumption.
Absolutely.
It was about looking if how much water and energy your product took, to be
Correct.
made, and then waste that you were causing, and chemicals you were using, and labor. It's really important. Where is it made, and how much does
Wow.
it travel before it arrives into your store?
Absolutely.
And I would say future, on the short term, like everything circular economy. So new fibers made from waste.
Mm-hmm.
We have many more companies now that exist that started 10 years ago, and
Yeah.
now people are starting
Are
to
shifting.
work with them. Yeah. On a creative and designer and side, I would say that I would love to see like what's the new patchwork? Because one of the textile ways that we have the most, it's scraps, you know,
Yes.
and yes, you can transforming it in new fiber, but what do you do if you dismantle a pant? You know, you have different type of panel,
Of
and
course.
could you use like scraps to create a black fabric, but it's so well made that you have to be really
You don't
close to
even
see,
notice.
oh, this is patch. And I think the designers and the creators and research and development in the apparel industry that will succeed in creating this will work. I think it can be done on a textile level, like doing big panels, or on a pattern making level where maybe there's new seams, you know, in a jacket, maybe there's the
Absolutely.
new seams that we add to the jacket in a way that it
It all
doesn't look
blends
patchwork.
together.
Yeah,
Got
it
it.
doesn't, because when I think patchwork, I'm like, no, I don't want to wear it, you know, but it's a good way to reuse, you know,
That
patchwork.
is.
So what is that new, is it patchwork or put, I don't know how we call it, but what is that new thing that uses scrap or smaller amount of fabric that are the same? Because if you take denim is denim, and we have amazing brands that are working with denims in a very, very beautiful way. I think what we want as a consumer, because we tasted good fit, we know what a good fit is. So we still
We
want to
do.
have a good fit. So we can't forget about that. We want to be comfortable. We love fabric and we want quality. So how to keep that, integrate sustainable strategy in it, and we want to look good, we want to look hot, you know. I
But we must take into consideration the fact that we need to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, but
So
if we do it in a way
that's
that the
exactly what you're
consumer
saying.
doesn't look good,
Then we
I
haven't.
won't buy it.
We haven't.
I won't buy it. I won't buy it. I'm the first one, and I preach it. I preach sustainability, but if I don't look good, I don't feel good in my clothes,
That's true.
I'm not gonna buy it.
That's for sure. Of course. So you talked about these new, let's say, integration of the patches in order to be able to actually reuse everything
Yeah.
possible. So instead, talking more to our actually viewers and your followers and our followers, what is some advice that you would give our followers and your followers on how to live and shop more sustainably? I mean, you
I
had a lot of sisters, so you were able to
No,
reuse.
not my. It's my mom who had a lot of sisters. So I have a lot of cousins, and
Okay, so a lot
so
of cousins, and you
it's
were
not me.
able
I
to
don't have for.
reuse all the clothes.
Well, I think I will go back, and I've been talking about this eco recipe for almost 10 years now. I think everybody has to find their own eco recipe because we're all different,
Absolutely.
depending of our resources and our values. And if you copy paste what someone else is doing that is sustainable, it might not fit you exactly.
That's true.
And we have to own that recipe and without judging others. So all this process has to happen without judgment, anger, guilt, and shame. Because, you know, if we take, I talk about this example that is a bit controversial, but if we talk about vegan products, so no harms is done to animal, but the durability of fake leather right now is way less than real leather. Okay.
Yes.
So if your first value, your core value is not harm animal, and you are okay to buy 10 bags in fake leather, and another buy one bag in real leather for durability, that causes less waste. Do you understand?
Yeah, I'm
We
understanding.
can't,
I'm understanding.
we
It's the
can't,
different
we
perspectives, you know?
there's not one way. There's no one way. There's
That's true.
7.8 billion ways. So the only way we're gonna succeed is without judgment and anger and pointing finger.
Pointing finger.
So what I say, once you find your recipe though, do it well and respect it and honor it, and improve every year. So the vegan product, how can we make that fake leather last longer? That's the next step. Because, eventually having long lasting fake leather is the goal. So we don't harm animal and we
Exactly.
have no waste. So right now, let's start somewhere and then reach that ultimate goal, which I think it's gonna happen in this century. This is the century of transparency, authenticity, and value. We go back to our roots. So
I totally agree. And I honestly think that your message is really clear and concise as possible as it could be. There is no universal way of living and being sustainable. Um,
no.
we come from different cultures, and that's what gives it flavor, you know. So it is
Mm-hmm.
correct for us to live a sustainable life, but depending on the possibilities that we have. So I completely agree with your point of view, and the fact that we shouldn't be pointing fingers, but just trying to help each other and improve and work all together towards the ultimate goal of actually doing the less harm to the environment and also to ourselves, because I mean that is a consequence of the environment being hurt at the end. So couldn't agree
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So Myriam, I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to share with the people that will be listening to us and that are currently listening to us. But I finished the questions that I wanted to ask you. So if there's
Well,
something that you want to say, a quote, whatever, feel free.
oh, well, when I talk to people, it's not about pointing fingers. I yes, but we cannot though close our eyes if we see something
That's true.
extremely unethical, So I think the Me Too movement and the Black Lives Matter movement that is happening
Mm-hmm.
right now
Yes,
is
strong.
extremely important, and it has been part of my way of seeing things for the past, I would say, 2 years now. It it's only 2 years ago that I understood the white privilege that I had. I was like, well, all lives matters, I was saying that,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm like, no, Miriam, you. It doesn't mean I'm not intelligent and I don't have great
Mm-hmm.
ideas, but I would never be where I am right now if I was
Different
part of the
background.
BIPOC industry. If my skin color was different, I would not be where I am. And that was a big, all right, so what's next? And I think, yes, we have to think about the product, super important. It has to be as less damaging as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
But it is time for equality at race, gender, anything. This is zero tolerance when it's not ethical. So remember that, because you will not survive as a brand if you are not taking that in consideration. So that's the new point that right now with all my clients I bring. It's not
Awesome.
negotiable. And even in between yourself, it's not just in factories, it's at the office, the fashion industry. And I'm going to do a live Instagram next week about that, about bullying in the fashion industry and how it's really, really tough. And I allowed a lot of
It is tough.
male yelled at me and stuff like that just to stay in my position and to reach higher positions. So no more.
No more. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you're completely right. It's more about, you know, being able to really other like seeing everything as a whole and understanding what are the things that need to be changed, also apart from exactly sustainability. I mean, sustainability can be also more than just you know, the nature and the animals, but it's also about as we were saying before, ourselves as humans. We are part of the environment and we need the same kind of care and attention on every aspect.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more as usual.
Cool.
So I don't know
Thank
if
you.
there's anything else that you would want to
No, I'm
add, or if
good.
you're
Yeah.
all set. Well then, Miriam, I thank you very much for
Thank
your
you
time,
too. Thank you.
and it was a
Yeah.
real pleasure. I hope that everyone else also enjoyed this
Yes.
this conversation, and we will keep in touch and hope to
Yes,
see you
please.
soon. And we'll of course have a look at your live next week.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, so
Bye.
have a nice day, Miriam.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.